Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle. I'm also joined by my colleague, Jose Levy. Jose will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of Optimize, Adapt, and Excel. Realize the benefits of Agile Portfolio Management with OnePlan. This webinar is a new addition to our series of Agile webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jose.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about OnePlan for Agile Portfolio Management. We are going to provide you an update based on our latest work with customers and also latest enhancements to the solution and latest trends in the industry, which I think are very supportive of using OnePlan for Agile Portfolio Management. So the first thing I want to do is, our intent really is to facilitate business outcome management through Agile Portfolio Management and your Agile transformation journey. As you're going to see from some of the industry surveys and statistics that I'm going to show, all organizations are now in a mode where they have to incorporate Agile. So we're up to now 86%, close to 90% of organizations are in some way incorporating Agile practices in their delivery. So whether you're in more of an adaptive mode, which is on the right, or have gone, shifted all the way left in following a Agile scaling framework. In all cases, Agile is now integrated within organizations. So we're going to talk about how that is important and how OnePlan is really the most flexible solution to actually allow you to achieve that. Again, on the right here, we have the adaptive mode where we have projects and epics at the same level, and features and deliverables at the same level. Oddly enough, in the latest, for those that follow PMI, in the latest PMBOK, deliverables are a prominent part of projects, more prominent part of projects. But you can see here the difference is that we have programs under portfolios where and this is following Scale Agile framework, value streams really are really what comprise portfolios. So why is OnePlan a suitable choice? Well, we provide a flexible solution for you to do strategic portfolio management, which we've talked about before, for Agile portfolio management. So what does that mean? You have to actually incorporate top-down strategy execution with bottom-up flexible EPMO delivery. That also includes enterprise architecture. And in the context of Agile portfolio management, OnePlan gives you that flexibility. And in whatever way makes sense for your organization. And I'm going to say that because, as I'll highlight in some of the research that I'm going to bring up later, that is really, really important. What you're supposed to do is really adopt these frameworks in the way that makes most sense to your local context, to your organization, to your ability to have change occur within the organization, to the style of management also. You do have to follow principles and be well-grounded in Scrum primarily. But again, you need that flexibility in the solution that you select. And as we move forward, the evolution of Agile adoption, the requirements for organizational agility, which I want to talk about also, need to be adaptive, and that's where OnePlan is a better choice for Agile portfolio management. So let's see if I can make the case. So the first thing I want to highlight are the state of organization survey by McKinsey. So they surveyed 2,500 organizations and leaders, and then came up with things that the shifts, the impacts that organizations, organizational structure, organizational design needs to take into consideration. So the first one, I highlighted 3 that are very, very particular to Agile portfolio management. So the first one addresses increasing speed, strengthening resilience. They talk about volatility in the environments that we're facing, and I think we can all speak to that in terms of how, on a dime we're changing based on what's happening in our markets, in the world, and the need of the organization to actually have the ability to to make changes and to adapt. That's where business agility comes in, and we've had a lot of discussion in our prior webinars about business agility. But here, what we're talking about is, having the ability to respond to that change and in a very speedy fashion, and having a culture that allows us to do that. So organizations that that work on this, that deliver 50% higher shareholder return to stakeholders if you're focusing on speed and resilience. So it's an important consideration and a reason why you want to do Agile portfolio management. The second is closing the capability chasm. Now, capabilities is an interesting topic because one of the mechanisms for doing strategy definition is through defining capabilities and enhancing capabilities. Capabilities are part of enterprise architecture and, as a result, business architecture. So while there's a lot of focus on it, what's happening is there's not enough resources assigned to the gaps, to making that capability truly a difference maker in the organization. So the survey actually showed that very few organizations are completely building capabilities. They might be addressing it in initiatives, but they're not putting the right amount of resources and the right level of commitment to developing those capabilities. And the third one, is number 10, which is really efficiency. It's called Efficiency Reloaded, which it's interesting because it has a lot to do with how we become agile and agile principles. We're empowering our teams in order to deliver more, and in this case, it's really about using that the virtual organization that we talked about in our prior webinars, and not being so driven by the formal organizational structure, so that we can drive that efficiency. So it's about placing more trust in the organization and empowering employees to deliver more. So again, those are all principles that are part of an agile transformation, and here they're being confirmed by the survey by McKinsey. The second point I want to drive to is scale agile framework. SAFe came out with SAFe 6.0, and they've refined some items. There's a lot of discussion in industry about the complexity of SAFe and how easy it is to adopt. We happen to think that lean portfolio management, the portfolio component is very good for doing agile portfolio management. It's one way of achieving enterprise agile, and our solution addresses a number of the components that were within SAFe. I highlight also AI, which I think is really interesting because they followed the trend of generative AI, ChatGPT, which we have done also with our Sophia GPT, but basically now we have to incorporate AI in every one of our initiatives. So again, those are two elements again that support OnePlan as a solution for agile portfolio management. I don't want to go too much into it, but here are the 6 major areas of change. There's a webinar that's out there, and obviously the Scale Agile Framework site has all that content. So for practitioners, some of the a lot of the components that change will make sense. So it's I think they're all, good improvements on it, on the framework. But I do. It is interesting that building the future with AI, big data, and cloud comes out as one of the changes. And then the sixth one's delivering better outcomes, measure and grow on OKRs. And OKRs have been part of the framework since the beginning, but here we're focusing more on, again, business outcome management, and the concept of key results, making a change, reflecting that we will be accomplishing our key results through initiatives in our portfolio. An additional element to consider, Gartner provided for digital initiatives and strategic portfolio management a piece on how you need to really have mixed execution for digital outcomes, and they're really addressing all digital within an organization, which again is a predominant part of investment in IT. And I thought it was interesting because OnePlan actually addresses every one of these dimensions: the strategy definition, strategic planning, and strategy execution, through our strategy section, portfolio section, and and delivery capabilities. And Agile is an important part of all of this, obviously. Here the concept again of supporting business outcomes, aligned delivery comes through, making portfolio investment decisions that are aligned with technology capability mapping. So again, having the enterprise architecture components aligned or connected to the initiatives, and then focusing on value-driven decisions that that further enterprise outcomes, which again points to an agile transformation. Most digital is being done in software development value streams, which 90% of them are being done using agile Scrum methods. So another important element that supports the agile transformation. An additional research point I want to bring, there's a lot of discussion on which agile scaling framework to select. OnePlan supports all of them. The majority of folks that we talk to, our customers and prospects, are doing some variation of Scrum of Scrums, Nexus or Safe, or something that has evolved internally in terms of how different teams and products come together. There's some research that I found recently, which I thought it was incredible, because it actually highlights that the choice of the scaling framework doesn't really define the success of the Enterprise Agile initiative. What you really need to do is focus on something that's going to fit well within your organization and how you're doing work. So if you try to shift too much, you're going to end up actually creating a lot of havoc within the organization, and you'll trip and have to start over. So frameworks are blueprints, but they need to be adapted to the uniqueness of your organization. So you just need to focus on ensuring that the fundamentals, the basic process, are being completed correctly, and well grounded, so that you can have success with your Enterprise Agile initiative. We talk a lot about Agile, hybrid, and waterfall, and just some statistics. Again, general research. Agile on the lower end of industries that don't use it, even there, is as high as 40% in the software realm. We're talking about 86% adoption And Scrum itself is 40 to 66% within organizations. So we can see how all organizations are moving this direction. Hybrid, 24% of organizations are using it in their methods, and then waterfall is exclusive in 9 to 14% of organizations, and you can imagine that this is largely in construction. Anything that has to do with construction, physical goods, some government, highly regulated industries, are still using waterfall as a primary method. So again, another supporting data point of going into your agile transformation. And what I've just shown you is that the majority of organizations are really in this middle circle, or have gone all the way and shifted left to agile portfolio management. And what we want to communicate is, OnePlan is the platform that gives you the flexibility to go along this spectrum and evolve in your agile transformation journey. So quickly going to go through the capabilities of OnePlan before I get into the demonstration. So this is a simplification of a life cycle where we are going to be defining strategy, and that's going to be reflected, deconstructed in intake of projects, initiatives, however you want to name them. But it does start with ideation and having that idea go through a life cycle itself before it becomes part of a delivery portfolio and becomes part of planning for delivery, part of the resources, part of the funding. So you're going to have to start with ideation, and we cover that capability through our request portal, and also the definition of the strategy through an OKR section. So we're putting strategy here again just to simplify the slide, but the definition of the strategy also comes into play. When we get into the actual EPMO, that's where portfolio managers, portfolio planning, all of the required capabilities for making portfolio decisions come into play. And we have OnePlan portfolio, the modeler, which I'll show in a second, and all the capabilities for portfolio leaders to make decisions on sequencing, timing, and overall resource capacity planning. When you get to execution, now we're dealing in the realm of project managers, scrum masters, and there we have capabilities to manage in all three modes, as I alluded, agile, waterfall, or hybrid. And even within OnePlan, you can develop a backlog in your work types or issue types, depending on how your work items or issue types, depending on which tool you're using. And also integrate with Azure DevOps or Jira or any other tool where you might be doing your agile planning. Team members have a My Work area, and also if you're interested in capturing actual hours for timesheets, there's a timesheet for time tracking. And finally, the reporting and visualizations are available through Power BI. And if you don't have Power BI, an OData connector in order to have other reporting tools. We are adding a number of charting components to the solution in our releases in order to enhance that further. So OnePlan is built for connecting strategy to execution. And again, if you're in an agile transformation, we would enable you to connect to whatever agile planning tool you have. The most predominant ones are Azure DevOps and Jira, but we have done just about every other tool that's out there to connect backlogs, your agile planning backlogs. And I think this is another important element, which is the flexibility to integrate any data set. So whether it's financial data, HR data, enterprise architecture data, strategy data. Our One Connect platform allows you to bring that in and make it part of your decision framework for Agile Portfolio Management. So I think this is critical because again, if we're connecting top down and connecting bottom up, OnePlan through its One Connect platform becomes the central hub for accomplishing that Agile Portfolio Management. And to this end, we have a specific solution which I'll be showing that addresses, it's built around the taxonomy and the process of Agile portfolios. Again, we can accommodate any framework, safe, adaptive, portfolio management, whichever one your organization happens to be working with or wants to move into it. What we want to do is, provide the PI planning, increment planning perspective, period planning perspective of all the teams and all the features that have been committed, so that you can see how you're delivering value to the customers from a portfolio standpoint. So this is an important slide that I want to highlight because it defines how we do integrations with Azure DevOps, work items, and Jira issue types. There's flexibility in this, by the way. So what we're showing here is just a representation of how we would actually do it with our connector platform, but that you will have what we call plan types in a hierarchy of sorts, and those are going to be connected to the way that you have structured your Azure DevOps or Jira Agile plans. And the platform allows you to synchronize both ways. So in the event of, in this case, I have epics that could be defined in OnePlan and it could go into Azure DevOps, or start in Azure DevOps and get defined in OnePlan. That is totally flexible and up to you in terms of what makes most sense from a process standpoint. Typically epics can go both ways. They're given to teams where the team will then take the epic and break it down into features, and then that ends up in OnePlan. But you could easily create features in OnePlan and have them be integrated into your Agile planning tool. You'll note that the upper part of the hierarchy, what we call portfolio, is within OnePlan portfolio, and the reason is that's where you actually will do prioritization. So one question when I talk to all customers is, do you prioritize features? Do you want to prioritize features, or is that not going to be done in OnePlan? Because if you're not going to prioritize features, then we would not include them in portfolio. Personal opinion, better practice is to include features, because we are prioritizing features in PI planning. So we would include them in portfolio. The rest of your work items or issue types, again, depending on the tool you're using, are going to be integrated into OnePlan, into WorkPlan. WorkPlan is where we actually plan our backlog or our waterfall schedules or our hybrid approach. So you will get to see them, they get integrated, but again, they're being defined and completed in the Agile planning tool. So could you define them also within OnePlan and have them? Yes, you could. You could go the other direction, but that again is based more on how you are, working with all your users within your Agile planning tool. Again, this is kind of a standard approach, but if you happen to want to define them in OnePlan and throw them into your Agile planning tool, you can. The tool technically allows for that. The second important point is, who are the personas and use cases that we are going to be working within OnePlan. So we recognize that the Agile planning tools is where teams are working at an enterprise level. So whether it's Azure DevOps or Jira, again, that's where all the work is going to actually be completed within for Agile Portfolio Management. So OnePlan provides you, the prioritization or epics and features within the tool. Also, reviews of status of any element within your planning hierarchy. So by definition, that means that it's really a portfolio, product manager, program manager roles at that higher level that are looking at the overall alignment, overall definition of product strategy. Those are the roles that are going to be in OnePlan. Program manager also, and the primary use case is to define, get status obviously, and then define and prioritize epics and features in order to have your roadmap defined. Now the tactical and operational work that project manager, scrum master, team leads do, that is all going to occur in Azure DevOps, typically with stories, features, and other work items. Now, for team members, in the event that you do want to actually track actual hours, for financial reasons, we do have a timesheet that can be placed within Azure DevOps, or you can go into, the user can go into OnePlan. That would be the only really reason for why a team member would go into OnePlan, would be to complete a timesheet, because normally task completion, either points or hours, is going to be done within Azure DevOps or Jira if you happen to be in Jira. So OnePlan is really built for that, the Agile portfolio use cases for the roles that that drive those scenarios. And then finally, we do have a Fuse UI, and what that means is you can use it OnePlan in Teams. You can use it OnePlan in standalone on the web. I didn't list that here, didn't show that here, but we like to show that if you want to see OnePlan within Azure DevOps directly, obviously the roles, the portfolio management roles, are the ones that are going to have access to the solution. Same with Jira. But if you're a Teams organization, you can also have OnePlan in Teams for Agile Portfolio Management. So trying to make the user experience as seamless as possible. And I want to highlight, our entry into AI with the release of Sophia GPT, which we did a few weeks ago. It's our integration of generative AI into OnePlan, and I'll be showing a couple of quick scenarios on that within the solution. It is based on Azure OpenAI GPT, so it is more secure and provides more options in terms of what you would get if you're using the what is available online. So the fact that it's in Azure, gives you the same level of security that that we provide as part of our solution. It is a Sophia GPT is just like OpenAI GPT, so it understands natural language, responds in real time, and it has. We've done a number of webinars already on this, so if you're interested and haven't seen it, please go to our prior webinars on demand to see how we have integrated it. We're focusing on it as a lot of organizations are, in order to drive value for the different strategic portfolio management roles. And as you'll see, it also applies to Agile portfolio management. So it will help to automate data entry, information retrieval, communication, and so on. And again, we're just getting started in this journey as making a AI collaborator within strategic portfolio management and Agile portfolio management. All right, I'm going to switch now and go to the demonstration. All right, so we are in our Agile portfolio management solution, and I'm going to start in home. So OnePlan does have a home where we have 4 quadrants of insights, which can be configured, defined, basically giving you alerts on what is going on in terms of your tasks within the solution, whether it's doing status reports as you see here, or reporting status on task, overdue task within projects. Below you have all the plans, and when we talk about plans, it's really all of the plan types that are available to be created. And these are things that you either participate in, own, or have been shared with you. So you can see that plan shared with me is here. And you can see that in terms of plan types, I have, features, ideas, objectives, teams, and so on. There is a conversation thread for comments that are defined on any item in the solution. So, good way of, tracking what comments that have been placed by team members on issues. And then there is a really a portlet to my work, which is just, again, a reminder of the work that you have to do, and really just a view on the second tile in the navigation, which is my work. So if you had team members using OnePlan and coming into OnePlan, this is one of the areas that they would have access to. Everyone has access, but team members in particular, this is their primary area, together with my work, where they would see tasks that have been assigned to them. As I said earlier, most of this is going to occur if you're not using timesheets in your Agile planning tool. So it's likely that they would not need to come in and work on that. And by the way, we do have a timesheet. It's not set up here, but if you wanted to, you could have a timesheet within OnePlan. There is a work log that gets integrated into Azure DevOps if you're interested in having that integrated into Azure DevOps, so the user doesn't have to come into OnePlan. That's really the purpose of that work log. The rest of the navigation here, I will put the head on as a portfolio manager and have full access to, which is my ideas, my strategy, my portfolio, enterprise architecture. We have all of our, summary resource plan for all of the work. And then the Agile template has, a PI planning area defined where we can define our increments, our teams, our modeler solution where we do our what if, and then our resource center where we define resources. Again, resources can be teams, can be generics, can be named resources. So let's go. I'm going to just quickly go through the areas, beginning with the ideas in the life cycle. I have here a view that says ideas that need review, but as you can see, I can have different views created, new ideas. In terms of the what is placed in the view, I could add additional elements as required. This is a pre-built view, and in terms of groupings, also I could be grouping by any field that I'm actually tracking, so I could see who has the most, who's going to be most impacted with the new ideas. The solution has, has a form capability, and this is for the ideas. You can make this anything you need it to be. And here's a business case, valid statement, additional comments. Depending on what your requirement is when you first put an idea, you could be putting summary financials, summary resources, prioritization in order to drive a score. So this is actually a calculation. Same thing if you're doing Agile work, if you want to, as part of your funnel, include the WSJIT calculations, you can do that. And then if you want to associate elements, key results that this idea is going to be affecting or helping, you can do that in this area. And it's flexible. So, if you have more information that you need or less, this can accommodate it. I do want to highlight that, here we have Sophia GPT in case that, one of the use cases that we provide is, okay, please, based on the information that's provided, define the business case description, value statement, and comments. And I won't do it here for the sake of time, but it would actually generate the narrative that you could include in here. So, that's a useful way of incorporating, generative AI into ideation. We have done, it's an interesting segue in terms of being able to do prioritization or balancing also of ideas based on investment horizons. That's another way of using Sophia GPT, making that request, and then having it give you an output for prioritization. But here the concept, once you do that, we're going to go through and approve it. So these are approved here. What we would do, these three here are approved. And what that means is that I can now reorganize it, which means literally placing it in the execution portfolio, taking it out of ideas and placing it in the execution portfolio. You'll note that here we have a number of different tools that are available, capabilities. You can share it with, you can comment, that's where the comments come in. You could define dependencies here also if you wanted to, by the way, which I know it's an important element. If we do this, what else is it going to be impacting? But if we are going to move it forward, again, we would do the reorganize, and we're going to make it into an epic in this case. And in our planning hierarchy, we would make it part of a program. So which program does it belong to? We have 2 portfolios and 3 programs. So this one perhaps needs to go here, and I would reorganize it and then make it part of the execution portfolio. Now, you could do that through a workflow, by the way. So you could be triggering, sending it to the execution portfolio once it's, approved. The approval status changes, for instance. So that is an option that you have if you wanted to automate that step through workflow. So now we are in the in my portfolio, and something that you could have done is that you're actually defining, for that specific feature, how it impacts key results. So this is where the strategy component comes at. It's so important. And we're so focused now on business outcomes, which means, okay, the KRs from this feature in particular. Okay, so this is a feature that belongs to, here we have it's, where it's at right now in terms of the life cycle. What is it impacting? So I want to, before moving further, the strategic alignment component, this is where it actually takes place, where you can actually align it to a key result that you're trying to accomplish. So and this is again the OKR of the organization, of the business, the product, depending on how you're defining them. So that's how that alignment would come into play. And then here in strategy is where we would be defining, I'll just show real quick, where we be defining the OKRs that get associated. So that is what we call an area, where you would be defining the objective and key results. And if we went to the key result, you could see then everything that is actually supporting the key result. So in here we have products, value stream, ideas. If you wanted to have a project or epic directly impact the key result, that's where it would get defined. In this case, it would be defining top down, by the way. So we went from portfolio to strategy just to show how we go through and define the alignment of features to our key results, for the organization. So that's how, in this case, this improve effort matrix feature is supporting our create customer community strategy key result. But likewise, you could be impacting an application or product. So this is actually drives the enterprise architecture components of the solution, and additional associations in order to have the complete picture of how this feature is impacting the organization. And if we wanted to do that, well, we would see, if we had dependencies also, we would see them here. But if I wanted to actually, let me see, if I wanted to see a visual of what we call runway, so all those associations that you just saw, that means that this feature is actually, as I showed earlier, impacting create a customer community key result, which in itself is supporting a specific objective. And then forward, this feature is affecting CRM and also Customer Hub. So here we see, again, the complete picture of how one item relates to everything else that we're doing in the organization. So if we go back to our portfolio view, here I spoke earlier about the planning hierarchy, and here's what we would reflect it. Again, this is an adaptive planning hierarchy. I'll show in a second one that is related or built for Scale Agile Framework safe. But here we have portfolios that deconstruct the programs into projects or epics, and the projects have deliverables and epics have features. So if we were to actually go to another view, because we can have views and do a portfolio summary. Oh, let me see one that actually has. Here we would be looking only at features or prioritization, so you can actually select what you're looking at in terms of, let's do program increment planning. Let's see, we have content here. So by PI, we've defined the PIs, and this is what we're going to be delivering by our, in every increment. And again, this has been defined by the integration of data within OnePlan, and in this case, Jira or Azure DevOps that you see here. Some, are being planned directly within OnePlan. There's not an Agile tool tied to it. So these have the icons actually are being integrated from an Agile planning tool. So I'm going to show here just the flexibility of having data come in from your Agile planning tool. So at every for every one of the levels that we have, you can have a detail page just like we had in ideas. And in this case, this is kind of our out-of-the-box template for the Agile Portfolio Management solution. So we have, a feature information, feature business case, prioritization. This one hasn't been rated yet. We do have WSGIF, feature points, backlog points, remaining points. So this one's actually, in execution, financials, effort, and so on. We have had instances where a customer will request that we actually have an entire set of data from Azure DevOps. So this form becomes completely different, and I just want to show it here because the flexibility. This is what I'm talking about in terms. This is a configured test site that we have, but you can see that we're mapping a lot of other information and doing a lot of other calculations based on the data points that are coming directly from Azure DevOps, and also the iteration schedule that's coming from Azure DevOps. So the point here is that you have the ability to expand, make this as specific as you want in terms of bringing in or all of the information that's within Azure DevOps, integrated within Azure DevOps. So advanced training components, which it's part of a program, and it actually has a feature also within it that it has been integrated from Azure DevOps. So and by the way, if we wanted to actually see, I'll just show the work plan, see if we have data from it. Anything that you wanted to bring from Azure DevOps would be shown here. And I think the other, this one that does a better job of showing the integration, because we have now the feature, the stories, the tasks that were integrated. And if I wanted to, I could synchronize it. It's scheduled, but if you wanted to do it manually, this is how you would do it. And if I wanted to access it, directly in Azure DevOps, I could go to Azure DevOps from here. See if it opens, or I'm gonna have to. So here's the diligence and the due diligence feature. Here's my parent, and here's as I move up, I can see what what my epic's all about. So you can actually filter and select what you bring into OnePlan, which is another benefit. So you could be doing other work within Azure DevOps and you don't want to bring it all in, so you can do that also. You have that capability. But here we have backlog. As I showed in the slides, we do have the ability to have schedule if you want to build a schedule around, as part of the epic for releases, for instance, or have a waterfall schedule that represents work from a timeline. And if you wanted to integrate backlog items within your schedule, you could do that in here also. So you could create it or insert item, which means you bring it from what is being brought into Azure DevOps. I mean, that's essentially the hybrid planning model. Okay, so we've gone through, let me go ahead and we've gone through and shown the forms and the ability to bring a specific data from your Agile planning tool, having a PI define what you're committed. Let me go to the prioritization view here because I want to highlight, see if we can use Sophia GPT for something here. So we have here the important element is to make sure that you have your data represented. So we have WSJIF, we have risk, time criticality, we have our swag. I'm going to add something here. I'm going to add see if these have scheduled effort here. And I could be asking, Sophia GPT to, what I'll do is I'll include I'll include deliverables here. Oh, we don't have any. I'll go ahead and make features. And I'm going to ask it to prioritize epics. And we actually have features, so let's do features. But you could be doing epics also. So here it's going to go through, look at the data. You could have these prompts already created so that when you come in and you're doing, you're trying to get your result, you have them all, and you can see here that's actually giving me an explanation of how to actually do it. It's not giving me the response, which is interesting. Okay, here it goes. Based on the provided data, features and prioritized file. So it is actually giving me a result. So based on WSJIF and scheduled effort. And it's actually explaining how it's going about doing it, which I think is great. So it's giving us a methodology. So those are the top, if we're going for top 10, we have 6 here. And it's telling me that it's balancing business value, time criticality, and risk factors while considering development effort. Okay, so if we move forward, we can go to our board and let's see. Again, one of the values of using OnePlan for Agile Portfolio Management is having the board available so you can create your different views. Here we have we're looking at features again by PI, and we have dependencies. You could be looking at any of the data for any of these here by going into my quick edit, which allows me to view my detail page with all of the definition. Here is my WSJIF, points, PI, definition, financial plan, and so on. And here we have have the columns be the program increment. We don't have any lanes. We could have teams or arts if you're doing safe by lanes. The color is state, and the totals is showing me feature points. So you can see that for the PIs, in terms of what I'm delivering, you know, they're summarizing to the feature point. If I wanted to actually see this in terms of, let's go for medium, we could actually see, you know, in terms of where all the work is for features, when are we delivering those capabilities? It looks like, you know, our second PI has the most, and it looks like we're in trouble in terms of our due diligence, which happens to be on hold. In terms of dependencies, it looks like you know, we need to make sure that this one is done, because otherwise our features here is not going to actually take place. So we could do the same thing with budget if you're interested in doing that. We can go to the level of sprints. Let me see, this one is built. So you can break down the PI further into sprints so that you can see what you're doing. And if you wanted to select, you know, a specific set of sprints, you can do that within our pre-filter. So we have a pre-filter capability. Here, it's a, you know, the columns of the program increment, and then the lanes are actually the sprints. So if we make this smaller, it looks like we're doing the majority of the work. Here's how we can see the dependencies on later sprints. So this one is really important. This is purchase, which is going to be done, you know, later in the year, and we need to make sure that you know, this one being the loyalty points actually gets delivered. I could have easily gone here and done dependencies also, and see that, okay, buy a feature is really what you know, we need to make sure that gets done in order for this one in the future to be completed. But again, the data set that you're integrating from your Agile planning tool will be reflected here in order for you to do the analysis. Let's go to another view. Let's see. If you wanted to focus more on, you know, business, we have one by business units, by goals. There's really no no limitation in terms of how, you know, what you can configure with a data set in terms of showing your if we're talking about epics, you know, your epic planning and lean portfolio management, you know, this is a way of actually doing that. You know, epics, which are again comprised of features. So if we go to quick edit, we can actually see if we needed to see the epics that are within it, they would be shown within our data set. I only have 2 here based on my selection. And then for road mapping, you know, a roadmap capability gives you, you know, ability to configure based on whatever needs to be shown. So here we have business unit. I could, you know, if I'm doing by PI planning by quarter, what am I delivering? And here I'm showing actually projects, deliverables, epics, and features. I could focus on, you know, any single element. But also here, I could be doing the quick edit and seeing the data set behind it. Portfolio program, what state is it in? If we had a manager on it, the team, and so on. All of this metadata being mapped to the tool that you're actually, you know, doing the work in. Well, again, Azure DevOps, Jira being the most common ones. So if you wanted to put a narrative around the feature, you know, this would be a place to actually do that. And if you wanted to actually do a status report on the feature itself, from here, we could jump directly to the status report and then provide that narrative. Now, the interesting capability of the status report is that we can snapshot. So if this needs to be submitted and approved by someone, it would. This data gets snapshotted. As you can see here, we have other weekly reports that already have been submitted to an approver. So again, whether it's a feature or project, we can enable that. And then there's also export of that report. So now we haven't actually addressed the resource management component. So when you're actually planning, you can bring in that the work that is defined in the backlog. So we have our stories, and we have points, although we could have effort also, as you can see. Now this is then going to be reflected within our resource plan. So we have a couple of ways of doing the resource plan, but in this scenario that I'm showing you here, it's coming directly from the backlog that got integrated from your Agile planning tool. So this is one way of being able to do capacity planning for Agile plans. And we can see here where the work is actually taking place, who's actually doing the work. If you have every one of your features with your resource plan, then you can do your summary resource plan, where you could be looking at your teams and then seeing where the capacity is for your entire Agile portfolio. So there's a couple of methods for doing this. One more element I want to talk about, which is our modeler capability, and in this case, for Agile portfolio planning, you can use it to do feature prioritization. It's the difference with portfolios, and here we can actually define scenarios. So you can define your targets, and then do above the line, below the line, in and out selection of projects in order to drive to that scenario. So the important concept here is to make sure that you have defined your model correctly with the data that needs to be incorporated. And then obviously have good data integrity. You can see here that there's some benefits missing from this feature, and it's going to make it hard for us to actually decide whether to include it or not. And here, by the way, if I needed to actually look at the data or correct the data, I could do it by going in. I clicked on it. I see my quick edit menu, and from here I could go to financials if I wanted to actually fix that, or the resource plan if it's coming from the committed resource plan. I think here benefits are within financials. I could define my benefits. Yes, and then fix that data integrity issue. So again, using the scenario capability, I can define and then also compare what are the differences between my scenarios in terms of what is being included or not, and the ranking of the project, based on the scenario. So here we can see that in the second scenario, which is more constrained, the priority of the projects and the ones that were not included when we did the selection. And then you can add to this the ability to have your resource plans that I just showed that have been incorporated or defined for these selected features in order for you to see where you're going to be over allocated, under allocated. If additional selection needs to be made on these, you can see the impact directly as it gets shown. And then the other concept is that I could take and also show my timeline for the projects, or in this case features, sorry. And as you could try to resequence them in order to see if I can actually impact the resource allocation that I've made for the selected projects, or selected features, sorry. So you can apply modeler in order, again, to resequence. Now we're defining a scenario. We are not committing the changes to the dates to the features here. And here, what you would do is you would save it scenario 3, Q3, and then everybody would be communicated in terms of what the changes were, so they could make the changes to the source, which would be again in Azure DevOps or Jira. I think I wanted to show here reporting. So all the data that we have is within available through an OData connection, and we have out of the box report packs. So here we have a summary one for Agile that shows our ideas by state, PI predictability, budget by objectives, story points by objectives if you want to get to that level. Burn up, burn down also is available, and likewise I showed one, but we have a number of report packs depending on again whether you're doing strategic portfolio management, adaptive, or agile, and you can see that they cover the entire data set that you're tracking with OnePlan. So, or you're integrating, if you're bringing it from Azure DevOps or Jira. So there's a lot here in terms of what's available to use right out of the box, or make changes because we deliver the Power BI reports, to you. All right, that's our demonstration. I think I'm going to switch now again to our presentation. So I hope I've shown you that OnePlan is a solution for you to address agile transformation journey. So we implement based on people, process, and technology. The recommended approach is really to evolve. In other words, take it one step at a time, define what that feature state is, and figure out the path of least resistance to make small changes to move towards that agile transformation. What we're really trying to drive with our solution is business agility through Agile Portfolio Management. Small steps can go a long way in changing the way that you do work in order to go faster, to be more resilient, all the elements that we talked earlier for improving your organization. And then whatever current approach you have, there are ways of converting it to a lean portfolio management approach through steps in redefinition of the data and in the approach that you work with your portfolios and your initiatives. And we've helped organizations do that. So if you're interested, give us a call. Our advisory team works with you in order to drive you towards that lean portfolio management approach. We have all the capabilities to address agile ways of work, and now enhanced by Sophia GPT. We continue to lead the market, and more specifically the Microsoft ecosystem. It's likely this year we will win again, either be a winner or a finalist as for project and portfolio management as a Microsoft partner, which means that again, based on our growth, we are addressing a large set of enterprise accounts and helping organizations move into either adaptive, strategic portfolio, or agile portfolio management. So we have the experience and the knowledge. So in terms of the solutions that I showed today, I focus more on agile portfolio management, but you can obtain a trial through either AppSource or directly through our solution link that I'm showing. The scenarios that I talked about earlier, are in the strategic portfolio management realm, adaptive if you're in the middle, or agile if you've gone all the way and are planning in terms of epics and features. There's a number of other templates that are available within our solution space if you want to try them. The trials are completely free and available, so please go ahead and start one. The only requirement is that you have an Azure AD account. We do have personalized one-on-one demos, so please also inquire about, and if we make contact after your trial, please make contact with us so we can schedule that. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I've given you some insights on how we can help you move towards Agile Portfolio Management. And I look forward to seeing you again in another one of our webinars.